KoreaKoala here. In this video, I am going to teach you how to count big numbers in Korean. I'll briefly explain the general rules about the numbers before diving into the big numbers. There are two different kinds of Korean numbers, one being pure Korean and the other being of Chinese origin, often referred to as Sino-Korean numbers. For pure Korean numbers, first, you have to remember 1 to 10. 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯, 일곱, 여덟, 아홉, 열. After that, you have to memorize a different name for each place for the tens. 20, 스물, 30, 서른, 40, 마흔, 50, 쉰, 60, 예순, 70, 일흔, 80, 여든, 90, 아흔. Pure Korean numbers only go up to 99, but there used to be pure Korean numbers for 100, 1000, 10,000, and even 100,000. 100 was 온, 1000 was 주문, 10,000 was 검은 or 골, 100,000 was 잘. But no one really uses these words anymore. Only 온, which means 100, is still used, but only metaphorically, as in 온 세상, meaning the whole world, or 온갖, which means all sorts. The younger the Koreans are, the less of these pure Korean numbers they are likely to know. Most young people probably use up to 30 or maybe 40, but 50, not so often. So, if it sounds confusing to you, do not despair, because lots of young Koreans do not know either, and they are not even stressed about it. Now, Sino-Korean numbers. They are very systematic, but unlike pure Korean numbers, they can go way past 99. Big numbers are naturally hard to read, but Sino-Korean numbers? Gosh, they get really confusing, and that's what I want to study with you guys today. So make sure you watch till the end. Okay, let's go over the Sino-Korean numbers briefly. First, let's count from 1 to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the numbers in the tens position after 10 are sequentially 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and so on. Then the numbers in the hundreds position are 100, 200, 300, 400, and so forth. So the rules are pretty straightforward. So all you really need to know is how to read numbers from 1 to 10 and the numbers for the positions of the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, etc. So what are those positions called? The tens place is 10, the hundreds, 100, the thousands, 1000. If you spend a little bit of time, it shouldn't be too difficult to read up to 4-digit numbers, like this or this. But when you see one more digit added, that's when it starts to get really complicated. In English, after the thousands place, you add 10 in front of the thousands and say 10,000. But in Korean, there is a separate name for that place. It is 만. Okay, is your head starting to spin now? If you want to master how to read big Korean numbers, keep watching and you'll find out how. The reason why big Korean numbers are so difficult and confusing is because they are read and written differently. When Koreans write numbers, they put a comma after 3 digits. But when they read them in groups of 4 digits. Now, let's take a look at a number and see how Koreans write in the same way as English, but think differently in their head. English and written Korean number. But in their head, as long as you remember Korean numbers are divided up into 4 instead of 3 digits, it shouldn't be too hard to read. 10,000 is 만. After that, you just add 10, 100, 1000 in front of 만. So 10만, 100만, 1000만. And then finally, 억. After 억, it's 10억, 100억, 1000억. A crucial thing to remember is, as I mentioned earlier, that Korean numbers are read and written differently. First, when they write numbers, they use the standard Western format, so the numbers have groups of 3 digits. For example, here you can see in 1 million, the digits are in groups of 3. But when Koreans read, they rearrange the comma positions in their head and read it in groups of 4. So it would look like this. Shall we practice a bit? 3 million. Rearrange the comma positions, then it becomes 300만. 450,000. Rearrange the comma positions, then it is 45만. Now, here's a real challenge. How should you read this? Upon seeing this, a Korean person will start moving their fingers and repositioning the commas in their head, and then finally read it. Any number which has 10 or more digits, I guarantee you most Korean people wouldn't be able to read it without moving their fingers or staring at it for a while. So, can you figure out how to read it? That's right. Rearrange the commas and read it like this. 54억 3,789만 1,426. I hope this illustrates the complexity and difficulty of reading numbers in Korean. Even though it can be difficult at times, as they say, practice makes perfect. I hope you found this video very interesting and useful. Now go get a coffee and give your brain a rest. Bye for now.